Hello, dear friends. Max here. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me again. Today we dive into chapter 11.3, Real Extraterrestrial Craft and Who Made Them. This will conclude our extraterrestrial section. And it's a doozy. It is absolutely extraordinary, the information contained in this video. It will unfortunately be rather lengthy because I will play a number of interviews for you in the second half of this video. That is going to require some time, but I do advise you, please stick with me because the stories that you will hear in this episode are absolutely extraordinary. We start with the usual housekeeping here. The Amazon page where you can find the book with all the hyperlinks for all the downloads of all the information that you see here. We have to plug our YouTube channel, our Rumble channel, and of course the Brighteon channel. Please do like and subscribe, send it to friends and like-minded people that you know, and spread the word, please. Now, when they say life is stranger than fiction, I think it's absolutely 100% the case. In my long journey towards awakening, I have seen, heard a lot of garbage. Most of it I have discarded as what it was: misinformation, manipulation, and sometimes just absolute lies. It is, as I have said before, very hard to discern what reality really is, especially in a day and age when information is so easily accessible with internet. But you see, this is a double-edged sword. As much as the controllers created the internet as a control mechanism and mind-altering tool, it also has a negative effect back on them, as they did not or could not foresee. They never expected us to use it to connect the dots that finally mattered. I have written some most outlandish things in this book. I'm aware of that. But reality really is stranger than fiction, and there is no other way to describe it to the common man than to just throw it in his or her face. There's no easy way to describe this issue in a gentle and smooth, comforting manner. It's just what it is, the truth. To go even deeper into this rabbit hole without end, I will now attempt to describe what real alien craft looks like, as far as I have understood anyway. This is a truly magical story, and it's really hard to research, so I will just show you some example of what I have found, as this information is very, very limited. We have discussed at length what man-made crafts are, and what they can do, and who's behind the entire industry. What most people consider to be alien vehicles is hard enough to understand. When confronted with real alien craft, things suddenly jump to a whole different dimension, literally. The truth of the matter is that very few testimonials and disclosures I have seen so far speak of actual alien craft in a way that is hard to comprehend and fully understand. The human mind needs to be brought into a certain spiritual teachings in order to understand what they truly are and how this could all be possible in our third-dimensional reality we are currently stuck in. We have discussed previously about consciousness, quantum entanglement, and such things. Well, in order to understand how these crafts really work, one has to understand and appreciate how this all comes together as a working technology. Our brothers and sisters from elsewhere are probably some 500 million to a billion years ahead of us in terms of technology. They are so far ahead that we would consider them as angelic beings, god-like entities. The Star Trek movies and series has provided us with a great concept that they call the Prime Directive. What this entails is a golden rule: not to show themselves to less developed civilizations, or they would alter their natural development and start worshipping the newcomers as gods. In order to make you understand how this truly works, I will play you now a short little clip here, talking about what happened during the war in the Pacific and how the cargo cult was created. This will give us a solid base to stand on. Here we go.
Okay, let's say you travel back in time to a more primitive era. Pen in the hand, iPhone in your pocket, and earbuds in your ears. How do you think these people... Okay, let's say you travel back in time to a more primitive era. Pen in the hand, iPhone in your pocket, and earbuds in your ears. How do you think these people who've never dreamt of this technology would react? Would they consider you a god? Well, you don't have to travel in time to find that out. Today on Nutty History, we're exploring the story of John Frum, the American god of Tanna, Vanuatu. But before we start praying, hit that subscribe button for more crazy stories from the other side of history. Somewhere between 1900 and 1940, when France and Great Britain were squabbling over the colonization of small islands, the residents of Tanna, a small volcanic island, started talking about the presence of a new visitor. This mysterious visitor, who island natives claimed to be from the USA, was much more friendly and supportive to the natives than the colonizers. The natives would sneak off in the night to secret meetings with this white, tall man who looked somewhat similar to the colonizers. According to those who met him, he either landed his plane in the bushes or just straight up emerged out of the sea. This mysterious figure wore the uniform of the American soldier and called himself John Frum, America. You get what's happening here, right? The visitor asked the natives to return to their old customs and traditions, rebel against colonizers, and wait for Americans to come and bring more cargo full of money and modern materials. He promised to bring more planes and refrigerators, as one citizen of Tanna claims. When Pearl Harbor was attacked in December 1941, the US got involved in the Second World War and launched an all-out offensive against the Empire of Japan. That meant establishing bases on every possible island in order to get closer to the enemy. Tanna and the rest of the Vanuatu Islands were no exception. For residents of Tanna, it was a moment of celebration as the prophecy of their white, tall messiah came true. All of a sudden, their primitive island was crowded with jeeps, planes, ships, refrigerators, foreign food, and most importantly, American soldiers, just like their mysterious prophet, John Frum. After the military apparatus of World War II flooded the sparsely developed region, the belief that all this material was otherworldly and an answer to the prayers of the Tanna locals became much stronger. With the advent of the American army, a local myth turned into a religious movement. People began to develop odd beliefs about how they might summon such spectacular wealth for themselves. Sometimes they built replicas of airplanes from wood, cut landing strips in the jungle, or invested their hopes in specific Western figures. As American armies left with stories of being revered and appreciated by the natives, the islanders once again began to expect the return of their only friend, America. Since then, the islanders prayed to entice Americans back and bring ships and planes once more. The citizens of Tanna reenact the drilling rituals of American soldiers every day. They paint USA on their backs and chest, march barefoot in ranks with their bamboo rifles on their shoulders. The drill sergeant, which is usually the village chief, leads them to a bamboo pole where they then hoist the American flag. On Fridays, they dance and sing in praise of John Frum. They celebrate 15th of February as John Frum Day and anoint one of their citizens as the medium who is the only one able to talk with the spirit of John Frum like a shaman. They also relate people in power in the Western Hemisphere with their spiritual god and consider these personalities as his incarnation. There is a particular village on Tanna Island which worshipped Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, and considers him John Frum. While a lot of cargo cults sprouted, discovered, and faded with time, the John Frum movement is still strong on the island, along with the hope of their prophet's return to Tanna once again. Even after almost a century, they believe that he will bring them all the wonders of the industrial world. An anthropologist once asked one of the village chiefs why they still worship this figure. The chief smiled and answered, "Well, you Christians have been waiting 2,000 years for Jesus to return to Earth, and you haven't given up hope. Well, damn." What do you think about the mysterious religion of John Frum? Let us know in the comments section, and be sure to subscribe for more insane stories from Nutty History. Thanks for watching.
Well, there you have it. This is a good example of why this prime directive might be a good thing to follow. Now, as humanity has progressed and developed, we actually see many examples of this in the past writings and paintings and inscriptions. The pyramids obviously are a great example of this, but also Aztecs and the Mayans, and even the Bible and the Torah mentions flying vessels in the sky and sky gods on multiple occasions. So obviously the prime directive has not been followed when it comes to Earth, as I show you here. Here you have an inscription from Mesopotamia and Ecuador, distanced over 8,000 miles. That is the same being, whatever that is. You have on the right side here inscriptions of different types of craft. So you have a submarine, you have a flying spaceship, you have a helicopter. How did they do that stuff way before we invented it as humans? Pretty interesting in my view. I'm certain that most of you has come across some strange pictures about this stuff on social media, etc. So in social media they show some unexplained phenomenon that makes you say, how the hell was that possible? We get fed constantly with lame excuses and explanations that are just not satisfactory to the intelligent mind, and are so obviously fake and retarded that it borders insanity. That our academia is not being truthful about any of this is really unbelievable. Now take the stories, for example, that are fed regarding shape-shifting reptilians in movies and such. We're all meant to believe that this is all fiction, but at a closer look, it doesn't look like fiction at all. Ancient evidence suggests that our ancestors were very much aware of such entities and documented this fact, as you can see on your screen right now. These are all carvings and inscriptions, all related to snakes one way or the other. So what are we to make of that? I mean, just look at the pictures that I'm showing you here. Can anybody say with certainty that man somehow made these things all around the world with the technology that was available at the time? Give me a break, please. Here you have on your right side an incredibly detailed carving with what appears to be a laptop with two holes in it that one could imagine would be USB ports. I know it sounds crazy, but this stuff actually exists, so I have to show you, right? We have examples like this of impossible stone structures that are obviously not made by hand hammers and chisels because they match way too perfectly. How do you explain these things? Well, you don't. On the right side here we have another beautiful thing about the pharaoh Tutankhamun's golden mask shown under X-rays. Until recently, archaeologists believed that the mask was made from a single piece. But when it was X-rayed, scientists experienced the usual surprise. The surprise was that this mask contained more than one piece that had been welded together by a very precise welding, invisible to the naked eye. This knowledge and progress of past civilization in the field of alloys and gold mining is truly astonishing. Well, I agree. We have examples like this. On your left side you have Peru, Bolivia, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Iran. All these stones were put together, and they had an insert made of steel or whatever kind of alloy to hold them together. So if you find this once, you would say, okay, that's a coincidence. But why do you find it all over the world? On your right-hand side here, you have the three pyramids laid out to represent Orion's belt. And when you connect them, you get Orion's belt all over again. How could they do that? How could they do that? All these pyramids are exactly aligned to Orion's belt. They couldn't fly back in the day, could they? Here we have another example of an absolutely astonishing wall of rocks that are several tons each. How did they put these things together? How do they match so perfectly? We don't have an explanation for that. Who did this? We have examples like this. Aztec Mexico, Maori, Olmec Mexico, and ancient Egypt. All these carvings represent the same kind of vehicle. Does this look like something alien to you? It does to me. On the right side we have a stone structure that has obviously been carved out. But this is with laser precision. This is not something made by man. Nobody can convince me of that. We have examples like this. These looks like casted pieces, don't they? What kind of technology did they use to achieve these results? We have another wonderful stone wall here that cannot be explained in any way. Hammers and chisels again. That's what academia wants us to believe. It's absolutely mind-boggling once you come to this realization. The fact of the matter is that humanity has been visited and has been interacting with unknown species of extraterrestrials forever. They built this stuff, and we just forgot after all the various resets we have been subjected to. Thankfully, the structures remain to tell the story of our mysterious past. The evidence is everywhere, and we must demand a full and total investigation and disclosure of our true history. The questions are just too many to be ignored. It does appear very likely that humanity was seeded on this planet, genetically created by a civilization of aliens, if we want to call them that were much more advanced than we were. They were indeed gods in the literal way. The story of Adam and Eve is this exact story, except that Eve did not come from the rib of Adam, but was most likely made in a genetic lab on board a ship somewhere. So we can go and have a laugh about this as well. I found this beautiful little meme. Adam says, "The Mac rib is back." Eve says, "Stop calling me that." Yeah, that's how hilarious this story actually is. The fact that it was written and stuck with us for so long tells us a lot. The Bible and the scriptures do tell a lot of truth in this regard, and should absolutely not be disregarded in any way, as they do tell us a lot of truth. The problem we have is the interpretation of it, and that leaves more questions than answers, right? What I have understood so far appears to be the following, so please bear with me. And please do not kill the messenger. I'm just sharing my thoughts here, what I have heard. There were two brothers, Enki and Enlil. They were alien beings with great power, very old. They were sent to our realm to colonize and exploit our resources. Us humans were created as slaves to perform the labor that they required. Enki was the master geneticist, and he was the one who invented our genetic sequence by using 22 different alien races, extracting only the best from each one. He discovered very quickly that what he created was a powerful being, with extraordinary abilities in terms of connecting to the source and the ether. As much as Enki was happy with his achievement, his brother Enlil was not so thrilled and ordered Enki to downgrade our capacities in order to keep us under control. We were basically too smart for our own good. This is the reason why we keep hearing that we only use some 10% of our brain capacity. This is the downgrade. This race of aliens is referred to as the Elohim. We have worshipped them since the beginning of time. All the angels have names with El in them. We have Raphael, we have Michael, we have Israel. Interesting coincidence, right? Enki and Enlil were half-brothers. Enlil was half Draco-reptilian and evil to the bone, while Enki was a very enlightened individual and meant well. This is the story, at least. I'm just telling you. Long story short, Enki has been in charge of our realm forever, and is what in the truther cycles is referred to as Pindar, the almighty god of this realm. He appointed his minions and held them all together in a sect that was united in a religion called Satanism or Luciferianism. Our Khazarian mafia overlords are these very people, with what appears to be the Rothschilds on top. They answer to Pindar only. If you observe the pyramid depicted on the first pages of this book that I will now show you here again, you will find Pindar at the top. On your screen right here, you can see the blue circle. Pindar is right there in the middle. We have another graph here on the right where Pindar is on the top of that pyramid. So Pindar does exist. Now he is the one that gives orders to the Khazarian mafia leaders and oppresses us in fear and anguish on a daily basis. He feeds off that energy. This negative energy is referred to as lush, a negative frequency that they seem to get high from. All reptilians are the same. Let me give you another good example here of why this story could be true. Have you ever observed your house cat? I have 2 of them, and they are incredibly fascinating creatures. But you might not be aware that the cat is the perfect example of genetic manipulation. It is a reptilian creation at its core. And if you observe, it absolutely loves to torture its prey. And in my case, my girl eats them too when they die, just to puke them out on the carpet for us to clean up. Lovely creature indeed. Now the house cat is the only 4-legged animal with slanted pupils that expand in the dark, like a snake. Tigers and lions don't have this. Only the domestic cat does. And when they get irritated, they hiss, like a snake. Isn't that just wonderful and intriguing? Every time I look at my cat, I think about this story, and I call them reptiles, because I believe that's what they are. Now, you want proof that we were actually created? I'll bring you receipts right here. Just look at the graph and explain what this picture tells us. This is a fact. So here it says, if the theory of evolution were true, there would be millions of these monkeys, and there are millions of these Homo sapiens sapiens, that's me and you. So where are the millions of these in the middle, the between species? They don't seem to exist, do they? No, they don't. And that only furthers my conviction that humanity has indeed been seeded on this planet. Now, there's a good reason why the Egyptians worshipped the cat. It was a gift from Enki, who also provided them with the pyramids and all the crazy tech that they possessed. Here, just for laughter, I'll show you on the screen an Egyptian cat asking the kitten, "Do they still worship us, child?" Kitten says, "Well, I shit in a box and they clean it." Good, good. I absolutely love this meme. Every time I see it, it's fantastic. Now we have to laugh at all of this because it's so tragic otherwise. So here I'm going to show you another one that is really funny And I consider this one very relevant in our current predicament. Here you have a picture. Overlords apologize. Will reset simulation to 2015. We just wanted to see what you would do, explains spokesman. There's a lot of truth in memes, my friends, as I have been telling you from the beginning. Now back to the ships and what distinguishes them from what we generally see in the skies above us. What I'm describing is absolutely fantastical, but it makes a lot of sense from my perspective, considering everything we've discussed so far. It is very likely to be true and accurate. We are dealing with a species of beings that are light years ahead of us in terms of technology and spirituality. We know they exist, but even more importantly, we know that they are benevolent. The malevolent ones has already been here since as far as we can remember, so whatever is out there is certainly not a threat, as the threat is actually already here and in absolute control. They have been here a long time. I laugh at statements like alien invasion. I laugh because they're already here. If whatever being that is visiting us today would have any agenda in terms of conquering us, they would have done that a long time ago. We would not stand a chance in hell to defend ourselves, so logic dictates that whatever they are silent observers, and everything I have gathered so far points in that direction. We're dealing with beings that are so advanced that they can be considered angelic in nature. They have mastered technology to a point where they can bring their own vessels to life. Now, the Pleiadians are one of these angelic species that I would consider angelic in nature. They are here. I have always been and appear to be interacting somehow, somewhat with our species to some extent. I would not know how, but they do exist. Here is some photo evidence that shows how their ships look in the sky. Absolutely magnificent. And no, what I'm showing you here is not natural. We have pictures like this. We have pictures like this. Now you would say these are only clouds in the sky, but from what I understand, the situation is way more complex than this. These are interdimensional objects coming in and out of our reality. If any of these pictures does not look angelic to you, I'm afraid I cannot help you at all. This is not a natural phenomenon. Not now, not ever. The craft that I am talking about are alive in every sense of the word. It is conscious, and it interacts telepathically with the pilot and the rest of the crew. They operate in absolute symbiosis, much like we are down here on Earth, but we are not conscious of it yet as a collective. When we will understand this, humanity can take a giant leap ahead, and we will be welcomed by our extraterrestrials, brothers and sisters that are actually waiting for us to ascend to their level of spirituality and dimensional density. We are, indeed, Neanderthals compared to them. Here I have another two memes. One of them we saw already. Can we land yet? No, it's too early. At the moment, they're trying to change the weather by eating bugs. The other one says, I really thought we were next up. His friend says, climate change crisis next, then us. And that might actually be true, looking around us. Now, there are a few men that I really admire that I will introduce to you in order to explain what's really going on. Now, Dr. Stephen Greer, you already know, so please listen to what he is doing with his CE5 program, obtaining contact with our external family for some years already, and the results are quite remarkable and gives us a lot to look forward to. So let me play you Stephen Greer right here.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Arthur C. Clarke.
We're dealing with civilizations where almost every aspect of how they appear in our time-space would look like magic to us. And in the CIA, this is actually called WSFM. Sounds like a radio station. It stands for Weird Science and Frickin' Magic. A spacecraft can be completely 3D, like you see a solid aircraft. It can be partially in this dimension, but shifted mostly into another dimension. So I liken this to like when you're turning a dial on an old AM radio and you can move it across, you suddenly pick up Chicago and New York at the same time. They're bleeding together, dimensional bleeding. And so often these ET craft will be partially in this dimension, but mostly out. And all that we will detect in this dimension might be an electronic signature, orb, or an object that appears and flashes in and out, a scintillation of light that then vanishes, or an object that comes in where it looks almost like a hologram of an ET being that will be standing amongst us, but it's an electronically teleported version of that conscious being. I love this one. His name is Bijou. It's pronounced Bijou. He's an interstellar being from Andromeda, and he has a very bright looking nose because there was a orb here that teleported him onto the site. With the naked eye, the only thing that was seen was this sphere that came up right beside my shoulder.
What was amazing is there was a light kind of illuminating this being. He was just floating in sort of this energetic space, and it looked like he was waving at me.
He's sort of doing this, floating. He's in the air maybe 5 feet up. When I asked him where he was from, he said it was from Andromeda galaxy.
Sometimes I have to pinch myself and make sure, I do a little self-check to make sure I'm just really seeing something or it's not my imagination. But that was a huge confirmation that, we are really onto something with what we're doing, that we are really making contact. The ETs are participants in the whole story and this whole unfoldment. So it's really amazing that you're communicating with someone from, an entirely different world, and it's mind-boggling, really.
Now this is beautiful. We were on the beach and this appears right on the sand in front of me, and you can see the eyes very faintly. It's barely in this dimension. It's very crystalline. It's pitch black on this beach. This being highly intelligent, an extraterrestrial civilization at the level of the celestial. So it visualized humanity evolving to the point that everyone on Earth were in cosmic consciousness and enlightenment. That's what we're talking about. 500,000 to 1 billion years ahead of us. Get a load of this. We're in a deep meditation I'm leading. We're in cosmic consciousness. This is a Peruvian doctor, medical doctor. I call it the cosmic spermatozoa. It looks, and it comes in and it wraps around her. She begins to have the kundalini and an enlightenment experience like she's never had. And of course, this happens a lot on these expeditions, but we got it on photograph. Isn't that cool? I love this one. It's just off the edge of the hill, and you see people turning to look. And it was this object that materialized into this dimension and lit up and then dematerialized. What I saw in my remote view was a very large craft filled with ETs from different civilizations that were joining us in the meditation. Because that's what they're interested in. They're interested if you have a pure heart, a clear intent, and you're wanting to join them in universal peace. That's it. They don't care about your degrees. They don't care about... This is what the Prince of Liechtenstein said. I've gone all over the world where these UFOs are seen, and they're seen before I'm there and after, but when I'm there, they're not around. Maybe it's my attitude. I said, bingo.
Yeah, Dr. Greer is a truly remarkable man, and I think he has it more or less figured out. Great inspiration for me. Another remarkable man is Alex Collier. He claims to be an Andromedan contactee and has been talking about this issue for some 40 years. And of course, he has been discredited more ways than you can count. But please do look up his name online. He can be found very easily. His stories and information are absolutely incredible. He claims to have been on board vessels many times, and he describes them as living organisms. So let's have a listen to that.
Okay, everything they have the orchards, they have everything inside. They have the ability to build ships from scratch on these starships. And none of their ships are built on the ground. They're all built in space. So they're not built to actually touch down. Wherever they go, they hover. And JP told you about that with the Nordics today. All the ships were hovering. That means they're built off-world. Okay? That's important to remember as we get closer and closer to contact. Because I'm third density, in order to be on board with them, they created a belt for me. And this belt creates a third-dimensional atmosphere around me. So the minute I come up, okay, when they come, they hover, they send a blue beam of light down, I get in and I walk right into it. It disassembles me, boom, like that, seconds. And then I'm on board. And this container that you see, this energy field is 3D, and they will reach in and put the belt on me. And as long as I wear the belt, I can be in their space. They will hit it with some kind of a sound frequency, and this expedites the merging of the pieces into one solid piece. Okay, it'll just come in and lay on top, and they'll hit it with this frequency, and now it is one solid piece, virtually indestructible. And they will do the same thing with other components and pieces. And go to the next slide. Okay, and then what they'll do is they will add one or two different levels, I think. And what they will do at that point is, okay, one or two levels, and then what happens after that is that they grow the outside, the shell of the ship. Now, the shell of the ship is made of the same component, this specific organic living alloy, but they add other things to it, other components that we would consider crystalline structure. Because the outside of the ship is not only alive, it can not only change its shape, but it also can repair itself. Now, I know that we have some of that kind of technology on Solar Warden. And I think some of the Earth forces even have something like that. But they're on a completely different level. And literally, the ship can change its shape, and it can also heal its skin as it's in flight. It doesn't have to park somewhere and wait. The ship is doing this itself as they're moving. It can also change the texture of the outside of the craft as well. Let's say they're going through You got it. Thank you. That's what their ship sounds like.
Wow.
Yes. It's a song. Okay. The ship is a song. It also, even Mornay's ship sounds like this. They don't hear it anymore because they're so used to it. But I always hear it when I go on there. There's also a smell. It's a floral smell that, and I've tried. I cannot identify it at all. Now, this piece of music is by Stephen Roach, and it's the closest thing, because I love music, that I could find that resembles the sound of their ship. It's as if the ship is taking a breath in, then out, and then the is like a heartbeat. It's exactly what it reminds me of.
Thank you so much for watching today's video.
That's Alex Collier for you. Please try to find him. He does speak of a living organism, doesn't he? I've seen many people talking in these terms, but it's extremely hard to find them online, so I can't share them here with you today. But just be aware that they're out there online somewhere. I have also heard a testimonial of one military American describing how the ship they managed to shoot down, when he reached the location, the ship itself was attempting to heal itself from the damage. The vessel managed to communicate with the soldier telepathically and expressed its pain. The man cried when he spoke about it. It was very powerful indeed. If I recall correctly, he was one of Dr. Greer's whistleblowers in the event of 2001 that I described to you already. So what I'm doing here is just a small presentation of the general issue. So you may get out there and try to find some more by yourself regarding this incredible reality that is currently hidden from us. Now, another incredible man is a gentleman called David Adair. I've been following him for several years, and he seems to be exactly what he claims to be. He's a child genius, one of those freaks of nature that has an IQ over the top already as a child. I would imagine Tesla would be one of those. He has a truly remarkable story that I will show you here. He will probably put Einstein to shame. I have no doubt of that. Now, being what he is, he was obviously scooped up by the military-industrial complex at an early age and was put to work developing rocket technology that would blow anybody away. In his words, the last rocket he made was so fast that it ripped a hole in the atmosphere and created a vacuum. It was the fastest thing that ever flew in our realm that was man-made. He said himself that it flew at Mach 34. Now, David Adair recently made a 4-part interview with Dr. Michael Salla that I have shown you before, and I have of course linked it in the book, the complete interview in 4 parts for you to download in the book. Now, I've taken out a few clips for you to see here so that you understand what a remarkable man this is, and the things he says are just mind-blowing. David was invited to Area 51 in 1971, when the base was not even fully built yet. He went down to the underground, where no one is allowed, and he saw it all. He is still alive to describe it in detail today, because he has no obligation to stay silent, as he's not a military man, and has no allegiance to anyone. Now, being the child prodigy that he was, he had access to this top-secret military installation at a very early age, and he lived to tell the tale. The story I will show you today, he claims to have been 17 years old at the time. He is still around us today, even though he just survived a series of 5 heart attacks and should be long dead. But this is the part of the story that makes it so interesting, and you will understand as we move along. He also is the only one that I know that has actively been interacting with Arthur Rudolph, the Nazi that I mentioned before, in person, who introduced him to Area 51 and took him down there to see the reality of that place. Rudolph was in charge of the entire area, according to Adair. He was and still is in contact with extraterrestrial living technology, a technology that has downloaded itself into him and keeps him alive to this day. He's not supposed to be alive today, and he explains it in this interview at length. Now, don't be fooled by the way he speaks. That's just the way he is. Listen to what he says. It gives me goosebumps every time I hear this man talk. And please, do take the opportunity to watch the entire series of interviews. It is up on YouTube, I believe, or on Rumble. What he says is mind-bending, to say the least. Amazing stories indeed. So I will now play you a selection of the parts relating to living technology that is relevant for this discussion today. There's much more in the actual interviews, if you manage to find them. So I will play these ones back to back to you. It will take a while, but please stick with me, because this is an amazing story that I really want you to hear. So here we go.
So we are with David Adair for part 2 of this interview about his life experiences, and we are going to resume from him meeting Dr. Arthur Rudolph at at White Sands Missile Range.
Right. Well, the DC-9 pulled to a stop. Tail dropped down. They came off the back. And all these guys in black suits, white shirts, skinny little black ties, and mirror sunglasses. Looked like a uniform in a way. And then this one little guy got off at the end. He's small, wearing khaki. Looked like he came off of a safari. That's where he did. All he's messing with the shirt where you put the bullets in the sleeve. And that was Rudolph. And I said, "Who is that?" And Colonel Williams, just deadpan with no smile, he said, "That is massive trouble. We're in really serious trouble." He said, "I got to go make a phone call." So he went and called LeMay. Told LeMay that Rudolph just showed up. I didn't know that. Find that out later. But LeMay goes, "Get me my jet." LeMay had a Gulfstream 33. That's given to all the generals in the military at that time. So he's going to get on his jet and head out to White Sands. So he's packing up to come out there. Rudolph gets off the plane and he walks straight over to where I'm at. And he looks at me and says, "Who are you?" I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm just a guy that checks out new technology for the military. How about you?" And I told him, "I'm just a guy that flies rockets in cow fields." So there was kind of a bad stare there for a second. He walks on by me. Then we walk in and he said, "You want to show me your rocket?" And she's laying on sideways on a stand. And I take a block of metal I have and I rub it over its side. And there's not a seam or rivet anywhere on it. And all of a sudden the door raises up and swings out. He goes, "What is that?" And I said, "It's called a dissimilar metal lock. It's old fashioned. You ain't never seen one of these?" He didn't even know about that. Have you ever seen a dissimilar metal lock? They're around. They've been around since World War II. Come from the same place where damn metal came from. You know, what is this stuff? I think it's something reversed from a down UFO. I really do. Because they had stuff that was just crazy technology. Light up a room with no visible lights. How do you do that? With no shadows. How do you do that? I can't even today figure out how you do that. All kinds of stuff was coming out of shape. So,
when you say coming out of shape, that's Supreme
Allied Powers Europe. That's where I got the dissimilar metal lock. I said it's old. It's World War II. But apparently it's something he's never seen. He's all pissed off about that now. He's pissed off about a lot of things. He sticks his head down in there and looks at he's looking for a combustion chamber. He's looking for a diffuser wall. Typical rocket components. It ain't there. It's just a figure 8 humming cyclotrons. And he's looking at that and he's getting down lower. And then I put my head right by his ear and I say to him, "Do you know that this device that you're looking at," now he's the designer of the F-1 Saturn V engines that took us to the moon. He got some serious oomph of his own. He wasn't at Peenemünde just to be a Gestapo killer, which he was, but he was also a rocket scientist, a good one. So he built the F-1 Saturn V engines, which is the most powerful rocket engines of today, even today, more powerful than Elon Musk's rockets. I mean, 5 of those engines produce 7.5 million pounds of thrust. 3.5 billion 426 Hemi engines, the wide open equivalent. 3 million 426 Hemi engines. It's mind-boggling. And yet he looked down at that thing and I said, "Did you know that thing has 10,000 times the power of your F1 Saturn V engines, Dr. Rudolph. He raises it up. He's red as a tomato, and he looked at me and he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I told you, I'm just a guy that flies rockets in a cow field." I know his name. He knows I know who he is. I just reduced his work to a damn minuscule.
So you remembered at that time what the warning Von Braun
was going through my head. He said, "We're in serious trouble." And I never saw Colonel Williams take off so fast to make a phone call. So I said, he looked at me and he said, "I'm taking over. Just that simple." He said, "I own you. I own this rocket. I own everything. Williams works for me." He put Williams in lockdown. He locked him in his room. And I went, "Oh shit, this is getting bad." So I said, "I need to go call my dad. My dad expects a phone call from me." And my dad was expecting a phone call. We had a conversation before I left. When they dropped the Piggly Wiggly over the semi, I told my dad, "I need to talk to you in the backyard." So we went and had a talk. And I said, "If I should ever call back and tell you, just light your pipe and take it easy, I want you to burn every damn thing we've ever built to ash. I want you to burn all the drawings, all the math papers, everything, anything that's scribbled on a pad, burn it all. Melt the prototype rockets, melt everything, just leave nothing." Dad said, "Are you sure that's you, man? That'd be like trying to kill you." I said, "Do it. If I tell you that, we're in serious trouble." Well, I called back and Dad answered the phone. I said, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" "I'm doing okay. Time for you to light your pipe and take it easy." So my dad goes out to shop and he burns everything. There's nothing left. Not even the slightest scribble. Nothing. In about an hour, these black vehicles show up. About 10 of them in my dad's front yard. All they find is a drunk man in the backyard, drunk out of his gourd, sitting next to a smoldering pile of shit, and there's nothing left. Now they got nothing. Now I'm sitting there with the pistol looking at her, and I'm like, "I'm going to have to blow your ass away. Then they'll only have me. I'll take myself out."
But tell us about the test. The test from White Sands to Area 51.
Yeah, well, we're getting to that. So
the test from White Sands to Area 51.
Yeah, well, we're getting to that. So my dad burns everything, so now I know paper trails being burned behind me. There's nothing left. Two can play this game. I knew they were good at burning shit. So I'm doing it. I'm giving it back to them. So now I said...
and you only did this because...
Rudolph said, "I own you."
Right, I see.
When he said, "I own you, I own your rocket, I own everything." And I thought, you're going to own a bunch of ash in a few minutes here. And they had no idea I had set this all in place. They think I'm just a naive 17-year-old kid. Well, guess what? I'm 17 going on 53. So, it kind of bothered me that, all that was gone. It's all gone. Years. Ever since I was, 6 years old, it's all gone. You just torched it all. And I thought, well, I could rebuild it, I guess, but I don't think I want to. So, and it gets worse. The story gets a lot worse. So, we go to roll this thing out on the pad. And then Rudolph tells me change the navigation coordinates. I said, I'm so precise at it now, I can bring this damn thing back down and it can drop by parachute And he's old. He lives out there in Rachel, Nevada. He don't care. We'll take your pension away. Who cares? He don't give a shit. So, it's coming down, and it's coming down really fast. And they're not going to pull the parachutes until it's just about where it needs to be, because they don't want people seeing the same tracking it. It's going into Groom Lake, just north of S4. So, we are told to go get on the DC-9. We're going to go see it. We're going to go see your rocket. Oh, well, why the hell are we going so far away? So, I get out there. I tell Rudolph about the tires. He just slaps me on the back and pushes me onto the plane, says, get on the plane. So I get on the plane, and we go flying out there. And guess what? We fly over this area outside of Nellis, and there's this damn big-ass air base. Twin 10,000-foot runways, still under construction. They ain't got the concrete poured for it. You can see where the stakes are laid out. And John Lear never liked me because I'm 5 years before him at Area 51. He carries on like he's the only one at Area 51. Bullshit, I was there way 5 years before your ass was. And he never wanted to believe my story. When we landed, we didn't land on the runways. We landed on the taxiways. They're so damn big. The taxiways were finished in front of the three big hangars. So we rolled up to a stop. And we passed a big barren patch of desert. And there's pistons laying out there with their parachutes. Everything worked just the way I built it. The altimeter snapped off at a certain time and temperature. The sends electrical signals to the solenoids. They open up the side draft chutes. Parachutes come out, drogue chutes, and the main chutes, and it settled down. Didn't have a scratch on it. Man, I thought, how cool.
So it lands intact, such a successful test.
Yeah, it was.
What does Rudolph do?
He's all pissed off. I thought he'd be happy about this. And finally, I just turned to him and said, what are you so fucking angry about? Everything worked just perfect. And he just stared out the window and made him even madder. He doesn't like the fact that a 17-year-old American kid is like goddamn light years ahead of everybody. That's what it is. He doesn't want to say it. But I figured it out. Later on, you'll see that's why. He's got a bruised ego the size of the Grand Canyon.
Well, I mean, some people say that a lot of the German paperclip scientists, their job was to hold the American space program back.
Yeah.
Rather than helping it, they were just trying to hold it back and keep the Americans focused on.
Yeah, and here I come in the door and take us a damn quantum leap on the first jump.
Right, so it's like he's not doing his job, that whoever his superiors are, you know, because people believe there's
He is pissed off at me.
Right, he's pissed off because he feels that he's supposed to keep the American rocket program back.
And for him, it is personal. He's personally zeroed in on me. I am the cause of all this mess. Well, I designed it, I guess I am. So, there's more of the story though. We're far from getting to the real meat. And you thought, what the hell else could there be? You'll see. So, we get there. And I'm listening to all this stuff, and I thought, that little son of a bitch is trying to orchestrate for a strike. I guess he wants to take out the Soviets and Chinese. I don't know what the fuck he wants. Aryan race. Maybe he's trying to set the Aryan race in place again. I don't know. But he's definitely got some kind of agenda, and he's working it. So, I sat down. I remember I just sat down in the damn golf cart looking thing. That was another weird thing. They had these golf carts there that had no motors. They weren't propane, they weren't internal combustion, but just some kind of big damn crystal light looking thing that would light up, hum like hell, take off, fly like a damn race car, way faster than a damn golf cart should go. You know, I don't know what the hell the thing was. Had a Surrey on top. Needed a fringe. Didn't even have that. But I don't know what those things were. They weren't normal. And then I started noticing all over that base, things aren't normal. I looked at the hangars. The hangars are brand friggin' new, but they're painted with old gray paint with charcoal dust to make it look old. And I thought, I used to do that on models to make them look old. I thought, somebody's trying to make this new hangar look old. And then I looked up the lights on the roof. Guess what the lights had? Louvers. It could project a light right in front of the hangar, but out from a distance, you can't see the lights. I'm going, why they got louvers on lights on the roof out in the middle of here? They don't want this place seen at night. I thought, it's weird. Then we roll up to the center hangar, and then these yellow lights start flashing, caution lights. And out of the floor comes all these poles with chains hooked to them. It's a guardrail all the way around the whole perimeter, the entire hangar. I'm sitting there in that golf cart in the middle of the floor going, what the hell is that all about? Then all of a sudden the floor drops. A floor the size of a gymnasium. Made of concrete. Think how much that weighs. Plus whatever you're going to put on top of it. And whatever the hell they put on top of it, it must have been ungodly heavy. Because we went down and I'm looking for cables and chains. There are none. You know what it is? Worm screws in the walls the size of sequoia trees. 12 of them. And they're lowering the whole thing. I thought, this damn thing could pick up 1,000,000 damn pounds, I bet. So it lowers down. We go down and down and down and down. And I started counting. And I count 200 feet. I thought, hell, a long ways down.
This is underneath the Groom Lake facility.
Yeah. We're going under the facility now. The floor is going down. It flushes out. The back wall is solid. 2 side walls solid. You look out straight ahead and you go, you're fucking kidding me. There's this canyon, length. It must be 20 damn miles. It's over 20 miles because I know, being a sailor, I know the curvature of horizons. And for that curvature to be that much in there, that means that point we're looking at the top of that curve, that's 20 miles away. 20 miles. And the roof is a canter, like a rainbow, and then when it gets here, it's perpendicular on both sides. And inside are sliding doors, and in those sliding doors are hangar bays, shop bays, all kinds of shit. Over here are some offices. And we take off driving down through there. And I'm looking, and it's white. And you can see all the way to the end, 20 miles away, you can see it's lit up. And so I stuck my arm out and I did this and I went, what the hell? And I looked everywhere, no shadows. We're fully illuminated with no shadows. Explain that one to me. No indirect lighting, no lighting of any kind. We're just lit. And so we go down for about 1/4 mile, and on the left, this door opens. It's 40 feet high, 4 stories. It opens up from the center. It's an iris, like a camera iris. It opens up, and when it gets down to the bottom, there's a trench, and then this metal whatever comes across and fills in the trench. So now you can drive across it. So the big thing opens up. It's dark as hell in that room. We drive toward it, and by the time the end of this golf cart gets to that edge, the damn thing lights up. So the big thing opens up. It's dark as hell in that room. We drive toward it, and by the time the end of this golf cart gets to that edge, the damn thing lights up. And it goes like a rheostat. And I'm looking around, I'm going, still no light fixtures. Totally illuminated, can't see any shadows. Explain that to me. You know, nobody's been able to answer me on that question. I asked the audience, anybody out there know? Well, if the atmosphere you're breathing, I went, breathing light, okay. God damn, that makes good sense to anything. But how do you do that? Nobody knows. So, and at the end of this giant room, there's a stage, and it's got I-beams. Whatever it is, it's designed to hold one heavy-ass load. And there's something sitting on the stage, but it's got these curtains down around it, and these curtains are like rubber. And I ain't talking about, oh, I'm going to go peek behind that curtain. Good luck. You ever pick up a mud flap off of a truck? The rubber mud flap? It weighs like 150 pounds. These things are 25 times that size. So they must weigh half a ton. You ain't going to be picking this damn curtain up and look behind it. So whatever it is, they don't intend for you to be looking.
And just to clarify, I mean, where you descended at Groom Lake and you go the 20 miles.
Right.
So you're ending up roughly where people would say, is that the S4 facility?
No, because when we went down, S4 was behind us. So we're going south of S4.
Okay.
And that's an area not most people even think about. So I don't know what the hell's out through there. I don't even know where these tunnels go. I only went a quarter of a mile. And the reason I can say a quarter mile, I know what a drag strip is. I know exactly how I can tell by right. I've ridden so many of them with petties. I know what a quarter mile feels like, and that's how far we went down. But these hangars that we went by, there were things sitting in them. And they were not fucking jet aircrafts. They were something else. They were live because they had hoses hooked to them. They had drip pans under them. They were working. They weren't models. But they were like giant teardrops with fucking trilateral gears. There were spheres just sitting on legs. I don't know what they were. And then there was the Mexican hat UFO. One of them was sitting in there. All kinds of things were sitting in these hangars. And people were working on them. And then there was these chambers off to the sides of some of these crafts filled with some kind of gas, and people had these real weird looking goggles on, would come in and out. And the humans would take them off. I don't know if there's non-humans or not. I didn't see any. But as soon as they came out of that gas, they took them off so they could see where they're going. But when they went in that thing, they put them damn goggles on. So I don't know if that was an atmosphere. I don't know what that was. But a lot of weird stuff. I don't bother going into detail. When we got to go into this side room, the dude jumped off of the golf cart, whatever it was. The steering wheel was on the right side. Not on the left side, on the right side. He jumps off and runs over to this thing. He puts both hands on the counters, looks into this thing, there's a flash, and then the door opens. So what did I just see? A palm scanner and a retina scanner?
1971.
1971? There is no such thing. Science fiction movies, maybe. But these people are using it. Hell, we didn't even have a handheld calculator till 10 years later from Texas Instruments. And this guy's got a retina scanner? And I'm going, what is going on with this place? It's fucking weird. And I went, there's nothing normal about anything down here. And, just, constant stuff like that was going on. So we get over to this thing on this stage, and finally I just asked, why in the hell am I here? A real effort's been moved my body. You've moved me from Mount Vernon to Wright-Patterson to New Mexico. Now I'm in a God knows cavern of something in a place called Groom Lake. What do you want me to see? And Rudolph just turned to me and said, very perceptive. You're 17? So he's starting to think, maybe I do know more than I should know. So he said, do it. That's all he said was, do it. Those curtains went up. And I'm sitting there going, God Almighty, look at that. My engine would sit on that coffee table. That's all big as it is. It would fit. Might squash it, but it would fit. This thing, the curtain went up. I can look at my engine and tell you that's an electromagnetic fusion containment engine. You could take two internal combustion engines, a Model A, lay it on the floor, a Lamborghini, put it on the floor, and you could look at both of them and say, well, they're both internal combustion engines. This one's just way more sophisticated and way more power than this one. But they're still working on the same operational procedure. Compression, detonation, expansion, exhaust, and forced stroke. So I'm looking at this thing on the stage, the curtain's going up, and this thing is bigger than an 18-wheel semi with the tractor. And I'm going, God almighty damn, it's an electromagnetic fusion containment engine. Figure 8. Built like mine. But it's got so many fucking different design features on it. And it is way more sophisticated than my shit ever was. I've got the Model A. They got the Lamborghini. I'm looking at that thing like, God damn, I thought I was ahead of them. I'm behind something terrible. I've got a clunker. They got a speed demon. But I went, ha! I broke out laughing. Your speed demon's busted. There's a big hole in the side of it. Now, it gets more interesting. The story's just now starting. I'm sitting there and I'm going, you could tell I'm frustrated, depressed. Rudolph's loving this shit. He's finally got something to up my ass, And I looked at him and I said, boy, you've been busy, little fucker. And he just smiled and then he quit smiling. Because you know why? It's not his. And I said, can I go up on the stage and get a closer look? Air Force people said no immediately. Rudolph says, yeah, go ahead. He overrides all. There was full colonels in there. He overrode everybody. It's his project, I guess. When he said, I own it, he ain't kidding. So I walk up the stage, but he's starting to see things. He's starting to see, I may be further ahead than everybody thought, Air Force. He's not a naive 17-year-old. If he is, he's going on 53. He's up there. He's already figured shit out. So I get up there, and I'm looking at this thing. And I get about from here to you from it. And I go, hi, just fucking with it. And then I notice something. My shadow's on it. What the hell I've been telling you through the whole story? There are no shadows. Why is there a shadow on this thing and nowhere else? And I go like this, and the shadow's a half second behind me. I'm like, oh God. I'm thinking, heat recognition alloyed. It's picking up on my radiation of my body. Well, who has that shit? Nobody. And I thought, what is this? So I get closer to it. And finally, I just put my hand on it. And that's when it's weird. Because, first of all, I look down the side of it. It's huge. 60 feet is long. This house is 75 feet long from end to end. We're 64, only 10 feet short of this house. That's long. So I'm looking down the whole length of this thing, and I'm going, what the fuck? Something else. No rivets, no screws, no weld lines, no seams. It's like an eggplant that grew. How the hell did you do that? And I'm going, what the fuck? And also, I had miles of wiring on my thing because of all the different detonation points. Do you know if you had a soccer ball in 1944, your ass would have been arrested for the rest of your life? Because the Manhattan Project was a soccer ball. Exact. Pentagon, 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 Pentagon. Explosive point, 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 point. They all detonated at the same time, causing the atoms to fuse together. Did you know that?
No.
The original design was a soccer ball. So I'm sitting there going, look at this shit. And then I put my hand on it. And that was something I wasn't expecting. My damn thing is made out of God knows what alloy it is. It's so hard. This thing felt like it was alive. It's just like you put your hand on a whale or a giant fucking shark. It's like it gives just a little bit and then it stops. And wherever you're touching it, wherever my skin was on its skin, was these radiating blue waves. Really pretty. It's hard to describe. They got this thing, says to keep executives from going crazy. It's a little ocean wave thing that goes back and forth on a desk. It looks like that. So I take my hand off and what the hell is this now? So I turned around to Rudolph and I said, can I climb up this thing? Air Force, no. Yeah, go ahead. It's ectoskeleton. Its skeleton is on the outside, just like H.R. Geiger. H.R. Geiger that did Sigourney Weaver's Aliens. He called it organic technology. Ectoskeleton. This thing looked like it was ectoskeleton. And I'm going, but where you put your hand in where it's smooth, that's the organs. And so I climb up what looks to be vertebrates. Giant vertebrates. If you think about a vertebrate with an arm and arm, vertebrate, arm and arm, perfect climbing. Went right up like a ladder. Got to the top of it, and I thought, this looks familiar. It was like a big channel running down the center of this thing's spine, and it's translucent. It's about that big around, and it's got millions of little fiber cables in it. And in those fiber cables is something that looks like mercurochrome. You ever seen that? Or methylate, more like methylate. And I'm going, what the fuck? Be good for a cut, you know, good for methylate. And it was flowing all down through this big trunk, and thousands of little fibers running off of it. And I leaned out over to look to the side, and I went, that looks really familiar. You know what it looks like? A human synaptic firing system. Brains. I thought, good God, is this thing alive? Or is it a machine? Which is it? I can't tell at this point. So it's an organic, inorganic entity, I guess. So I'm sitting there going, man, how sophisticated is this fucking thing? And there's all these changes, you know, I don't know what all that stuff's about. I didn't have anything like that. I had just wires. But it's not true. It's got more to tell. So I walk down the damn vertebrates. I get to the middle of it, right where the figure 8 crosses each other. Eye of the hurricane. And I thought, now there ought to be some shit there, because I had to work so hard on mine, and I had to use a microscope. Put it over my face, and then you're locked to the OR table that you're working on. I mean, it's tedious. And you have to use it all by microscope. This thing's so fucking big you can walk through it. You think I'm going to miss an opportunity like that? Where I've built things under a microscope, and now that thing is the size big enough to walk through? I'm not going to miss this opportunity. So I lean over the side where the hole is, and it starts getting weirder. The jagged metal that sticks out, I ran my hand across it that fast. Should have cut me all to hell. Not a scratch. And I'm going, you know what it looks like? It looks like a harpoon that detonated in a well, and that's like blubber blown out. Once again, organic looking. Not inorganic, organic. And yet it's rigid. I can't move it. Strong. I went, what the fuck caused this damage? And on top of that, I said, this blast came from inside out. But further up on the outside, there's an indication of something coming in. This thing was shot by something. And it came through, I guess, the wall of the ship. Because what I'm standing on is not a ship. It's a power plant. This thing and the ship and the crew, all three merged together in a symbiotic relationship. What a perfect way to fly through friggin' space. You get in trouble, you take a blast. You don't need controlled damage parties. You don't need any of that. The janitor mopping the floor down there knows exactly where the ship's hurt and how it's hurt. They're all hooked together. Makes our efficiency on the Navy look pretty damn bad.
So this was both a ship and an engine?
It's an engine. It's not a ship.
Okay.
It's just an engine. It's been pulled out of the ship.
I see. Okay.
So I went, the blast must have came through the ship hull, hit the power plant, and I followed the blast. The blast went in. There was a chair there like this, chair, right? Obviously, bipedal anthropoids are around this thing. They wouldn't have a chair like that. But the chair is blown away by the blast coming in, and then when it gets to the wall where the eye of the hurricane is, it stopped. I went, fusion containment stopped it. This thing was shot down by something. So I'm just speculating, figuring out, but the thoughts are coming to me. And it's all making sense. I ain't denying it. I'm saying, damn, David's pretty good. Everything's fitting together. And I went, look at that chair. And there's another one on the opposite side. I went, I wonder if they got left and right written on it. Maybe it's left and right. So I said, I'll have a seat. So I told Bruce, I'm going to crawl inside, okay? He said, sure. Air Force said, no, don't. I went ahead. I ain't missing this. So I go in and sit down in a chair. And as soon as I got down like this, I'm not there 1 second. And then these two domes, this slot slides back, and these two domes pop up. And these domes have cutouts. If you take your fingers like that, they fit perfect. I fit them down on it. And as soon as I did that, I heard my mother's voice tell me, what I tell you about putting your fingers where you shouldn't? That damn thing, like Batman's Batmobile, you ever seen how it seals itself up? It's got armor playing chink, 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 chink. It started doing that up my fingers and got to my knuckles and stopped and then started tightening down. I thought, it's going to cut all 10 of my damn fingers off. So I started to yell for help, right? And then you hear this voice. A female voice, sounds like Lauren Bacall. Sultry. It said, David, be quiet. I go, okay. What are you going to do? And I said, and you are? And she goes, David, be quiet. I'm trying to think about something. I said, what? She said, my name is Pithlum. Say what? My name is Pithlum. Who the hell do you think sent you your dreams? Knowing that you'd build this thing, knowing that I'd bring you here, knowing that you would be up on top of this, knowing that you come in here and sit down, knowing that I would now be directly connected to you. What do you want? Hold still, that's what I want. Okay. Yeah. And she says, you're going to feel a slight tingle. It's going to go up your arms. And it shouldn't be no more than that. I said, normally when our doctors tell us there's going to be a slight discomfort, it means it's going to hurt like holy hell. And she starts laughing. Nice voice. So it comes up my arms. It gets to right here, it's hot. And then when it hits my my carotid artery, I get this heads-up viewer thing. And I'm watching this stuff. And it's just thousands of images going by at super speed. I went, what's going on? She goes, quiet, David. I'm downloading into you. What? Downloading what? And then she said, in a word that you would recognize, my Katra. And I went, search for Mr. Spock. God damn, it's a Vulcan's Katra. It's all of her at once. And finally I said, it's hurting. It's burning my brain out. And she says, yeah. All right, we're going to slow down. I didn't think you could take it all. You take way more than an average human does. I don't know what it is with you. Maybe it's why I picked you. Why did you pick me? She said, that's another story. Oh, God, how many more are there? So she said, be still. And then finally, she said, the things let go of my fingers, and she goes, we're done. What are we going to do now? We're going to go. What do you mean we're going? You're a lifeboat. I just bailed out.
So just to clarify this, so Pythium was behind you getting dreams when you were 12 years old,
right,
and helped you develop this electromagnetic fusion containment engine, and then setting place this chain of events that led you being taken to Area 51 and this underground facility where you found the real...
How do you make a story up like that? I can't. I don't know who the hell can. Do you know anybody who can do that? I mean, that's complicated. Filled with lots of people along the way. Lots of events. She had years. That's another thing. How long have you been there? She said, well, when I first landed here, where'd you come from? I was in a war. What war? War between light and evil is still going on. It's fought between the galaxies. What? There's nothing out there but dark matter. Oh no. She told me in 1971, she said, there are hundreds of solar systems between the galaxies. We never saw one until they just parked that damn satellite out there, that new one. James Webb.
The James Webb Space Telescope?
Yes, James Webb Telescope. It turns on and guess what it found? Dozens and dozens of damn solar systems between the galaxies, just like she said. And I said, where are you from? Well, me and my people are born between the galaxies. Like whales in deep oceans. Yeah, it's a good analogy. How old are you? Well, we couldn't date. How about a sense of humor? You got humor? Yeah. Well, how old are you? I'm 13 and a half. You a teenager? Billion years old. Billions of years? Hell, we're lucky to hear people thousands of years old or millions of years old. No, nothing that's a big 13. The galaxy is only 14 and a half, 15 billion. Yeah, we were the first things made.
So what you encountered was this engine that is 13.5 billion years old with a consciousness.
Yep.
That is integrated into that.
Yep.
And that was crashed or was part of an ancient war and it's been there.
They took a blast from something, their enemy. They even told me the name. I can't remember. It started with an N. Sounded like Nazi, I swear it did. Anyway, they took a blast in the side. She comes sailing in to the nearest galaxy, the Milky Way. And she said, do you know where you are in the galaxy? Yeah, we're on the very outermost arm on the outside. Which means you're the first Class M planet I ran into. The very first one. I was hurt. So I had to find a Class M planet quick. You were the first I came up on. When I landed, it was an ocean. Where are they now? They're part of the Great Basin. Nevada. It sits in the Great Basin. It used to be an ocean. I said, well, how old are you? She said, 3.5 million. Well, how long you been lying here? Hundreds of millions of years for you. I landed in the ocean. Now I'm in a dry lake bed. I went, God almighty. Well, what's with this damn Air Force? She goes, is that what you call them? Yeah, they're Air Force personnel. She says, we got another name for them. What? Blackhearts. We will not work with Blackhearts anymore. We've been here long enough.
So what happened to the crew of the...
I asked her, I said, okay, so there's you and the ship and the crew. What happened? I was jettisoned at the first. When Beirut was tore all to hell, the USS Enterprise pulled up. And you know what it did? It ran power cables into the city, and they ran off the nuclear reactors of the carrier for years. So that makes total sense. Standard procedure, they're going down. They jettisoned their their power plant. She drops out, skids into a stop. Ship goes on. Crews go. Where'd they go? She don't know. I wonder who got hold of them. She said, never heard from them again. I said, well, that's not a good story. I said, are you okay? She goes, yeah, I'm fine. I'm a lot better now with you. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. You're telling me I'm a lifeboat? What, I'm going to have to carry your ass around with me for the rest of my life? Yeah. She goes, what are you going to do? I ain't going to tell nobody this story. Not until I'm about dead. Because I don't want to hear the shit that I'm going to have to pick up on it. But that explains a lot of things. She says, like what? How, when they did a scan on me, there were 2 brain scans. And that's documented. Call Emery. Ask him what did he find.
So Emery Smith did a brain scan or looked at your brain scan?
No, he did a whole body scan. He said, there's another person in you. What? It's a female. What? How you know? He said, look at it. He said, look at the schematics. There's 2 separate there are 2 of you. He said, no wonder we couldn't figure out what was going on with you. And that's just the start of things. All through my life.
So you're carrying the consciousness of this ancient being, Pythium, that is... Pythium, that is 14 billion years old.
Yeah.
And has...
13, 14 billion, yeah.
That has all of this
knowledge,
this knowledge over...
And this... Now, you want to be put in your place?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Not everybody runs on a Julius Caesar calendar, Michael. Because I asked her, I said, where the hell's your people? We down, a pilot goes down, we go after him, buddy. I mean, we pack up and take off. And she says, yeah, that's on your chronological timeline. And not everybody runs on a Julius Caesar calendar. And I went, well, where does that leave you? She goes, my family's coming. Your family? Part of the battle fleet. I went, you got an armada coming this way? God almighty damn, what you got? And she said, relax, we don't conquer worlds. But if we did, we would put yours out of its misery. I went, that's a sense of humor again. Okay, I agree with that. But she said, but then there's yous. Or she said, in your vernacular, use them. There's using. You know, we'll ask people in the South, what using doing over there?
She said when this fleet is arriving?
No, but she said they've been en route for a while, which means they could be here anytime.
So this was in 1971, so they could have arrived a couple of years ago.
Absolutely, we don't know.
Well, people are saying.
Well, like I said,
people are saying a big fleet arrived in the vicinity of Jupiter, and that Space Command sent an armada to greet them.
It gets better. I went, where are you in this family thing? Are you the first daughter, second daughter? She goes, well, we have a hierarchy. Really? Like matriarch, yeah. It's mostly matriarch. Female driven. And you're a female. Where are you in this? Well, let's just say my mother's the queen. You're a princess? Are you serious? I said, I can't get just an ordinary alien. I got to get a princess. She said, now your humor is good. I said, lady, I'm so far from humor, it's not funny. I'm just short of freaking out here.
Can you just explain, I mean, ETHEREUM, the consciousness, we have the consciousness of the ship, of the engine, and of the crew. I mean, how can an engine be a princess?
Because they're inorganic and organic technology. They're not like us. They're machine driven. So whatever top machine was, her mother, is the ruling body of that entire organization or entity or whatever. I don't know. I'm not one of them.
Okay, well, you know, I mean, I think of the series Transformers.
But she's not. See, you're thinking human.
Now, Transformers is machines.
Right. This is something else. So I'm sitting there going, and I have been so many times I've been corrected. And I thought, damn, I don't understand any of this shit. She said, that's okay. You're really not expected to. I said, I always tell my friends, I'm crazy, so they don't expect anything out of me. They go, he's crazy. Oh, okay. It's like, he's from Canada. Oh, okay. And she goes, good humor. She goes, my family's going to love you. I went, oh, God, I'm having a hard enough time with just one of you. And I said, well, what now? I said, I had 5 heart attacks in 4 days. I should be dead. I died twice on the table. You can talk to my doctor, Dr. McDonald. He'll tell you, yeah, he was dead. Brain activity gone, no heart activity for a minute. Hit him with the paddles one more time before I call him. Boom, blows him off the table, comes back down. As soon as he hits the table, bang, he's back.
So that's David Adair for you. This is one of the most incredible stories that I have ever came across in my research. So I thought I would share it with you here today. You don't have to believe a word of anything he says, okay? But it goes in line with what I'm trying to convey. And I think it's a very interesting story. And it kind of highlights the fact that things are not as they seem, and science fiction is probably more real than we think it is. So this chapter here is a very powerful chapter in every way imaginable. It's hard to absorb for many, but as I said before, somebody has to say it out loud, and I'm just a messenger here. Make of it what you will. So please do your own deep dives as I have done and discover the truth beneath the surface. It's all out there waiting to be discovered and shared. So let there be light finally, and hope we can learn from all of this. And if they do come and see us, now we know why. So that's all for me today. Thank you very much for sticking with me so long. We will now enter a new phase. The next chapter, 12.1, is called Project Looking Glass, and that will set the stage for World War IV, which is the last chapter of the book. So we still have a long way to go, my friends, and that said, max out, and peace to you all.